Θα το πάμε στα αγγλικά σήμερα ή στα ελληνικά?
English, please.
English, please. Τα καταφέραμε.
Τα καταφέραμε.
Τι έκλεισες?
Κρις Σίνγκλετον. Pick and roll, αποκλειστική συνέντευξη. Πλούσιο υλικό, νομίζω. Θες να πες από πού έχουμε φτάσει μέχρι πού έχουμε φτάσει?
Μιλάμε για την εμπειρία του NBA και το draft, που είναι πάρα πολύ ωραίο γενικά ό,τι μας λέει.
Λοιπόν, επειδή μέχρι να το πει ο Χριστόφορος θα κάνει κανένα τέταρτο, θα σας πω εγώ πολύ απλά. Από Κλέι Τόμψον μέχρι Μπαρτζόκα, Αταμάν και Βασίλη Μίσιτ. Τόσο απλό.
Βασίλη Μίσιτς λέει κάτι για τώρα?
Λέει.
Κάτι λέει, να δούμε. Να δούμε αν θα προλάβουμε.
Μέχρι και χρονικό ορίζοντα έχει δώσει.
Αλήθεια.
Εμείς προσπαθούμε να φέρουμε ό,τι περισσότερο μπορούμε από content. Έχουμε κι άλλο που έρχεται σιγά σιγά από ό,τι βλέπουμε. Υπάρχουν πραγματάκια. Θα έρθει και ο Κλέι Τόμψον από ό,τι μάθαμε.
Λοιπόν, πάμε να βρούμε τον Κρις.
So, hello. As we promised, we are here with Κρις Σίνγκλετον, former Panathinaikos player, first of all. Played also for Barcelona, Locomotiv Kuban, and of course, Efes Anadolu. Hello, Chris.
Hello, guys. Thank you for having me. I'm sorry it took so long to get everything situated, but I'm glad I'm here, and thank you.
We thank you, first of all, for the accept of the invitation. Christopher?
Thanks, Chris. Like, we have the same name. I'm also Chris,
Yeah.
as you already know, and it's a great honor. You are the first athlete that you are in our podcast. We used to have coaches all over, but you are the first player and one of my favorite players overall, let's say.
I really appreciate it. It's an honor to be a first, and hopefully I can make some headlines and do some good stuff for you guys.
Yeah, we have tough questions for you.
Okay, I'm ready when you are.
Okay, let's start. I will take you back, okay? We will start from 2011. I think that you know this year, right? This year is the year that Krис Σίνγκλετον heads to the NBA draft.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It was a draft full of talent. Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, Kawhi Leonard, Krис Σίνγκλετον.
Mm-hmm.
And you were selected at the 18th overall pick.
Yeah.
What was that for you? And can you tell and explain the feelings for the draft process, for the people that are waiting for the day that you wait to be drafted, for all this situation, how it is?
Okay, so I think we got to go back to a little before then. So I came out of high school. I was relatively talented, sponsored mainly by Adidas in high school. So it was a big thing going to college. I was the first male to go to college in my family. So it was a big thing. I chose Florida State because it was far, but it was close enough from home that I know I could still have family, but they couldn't have me all the time. So I went to Florida State University. Now it's the home of the big guard, the small forwards, power forwards. I think we have like 7 or 8 of these type of players in the league right now. So let's go back to 2011. So I was at Florida State. I had a big decision. We had just went the furthest that we've ever done in the NCAA tournament. And I feel like after the summer I had in 2010, which I was on the select team for the U.S., where I got to play against the top guys, against the national team. I felt like I was ready then, but the draft was already over, so I had to wait a year because I got to see the side-by-side comparisons with everybody. So then, fast forward 2011, this year I break my foot. At the very beginning of the season, I was off to a great start. And then I don't come back to the last 5 games of the year right before the tournament. But we end up going deep in the NCAA tournament. We went to the Sweet 16. I felt like we should have went to the Final 8 or Final 4, but we didn't. And after, talking to my family, looking at the draft board and stuff like that, I decided to come out, enter the 2011 NBA draft. And then it's just like once you enter, it's all work. It turns from I'm just a student amateur to like I'm professional now. So then you gotta most agents or your representative wants you to start training immediately. So once you start training immediately, they can get eyes and ears and the NBA family, international scouts, all to come see you, or you can send them tape and stuff like that. And plus work on your weaknesses. There's a lot of weaknesses like my ball handling, my consistent shooting. Those are my weaknesses. I knew I had to work on them before I get in front of the scouts. So I went to Chicago for about 3 months before the draft. And, I was up there just grinding, trying to get my body to the perfect shape it's been in, finish recovering from my foot injury and work on the things that I needed to. So that was 2011, leading up to the draft. And then, I didn't get the call to New York to actually go to the green room until the day before. There was a lot of speculation. I was the guy that could have went from, I'd say, the number 6 pick to all the way to end of the first round. There was a huge selection, and I didn't know where I was going. But I had talked to Charlotte, which is 4 hours away from where I'm from. That was a good spot. I thought I was going, but I ended up not going, and I'm falling to the Wizards. And I think the rest is history. And
About your pick on the draft, one last question. I was looking and searching for information about you and found an interview that you are on a Golden State workout before the draft, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You were supposed to be drafted from Golden State and they choose Klay Thompson, or this is not related to each other?
No, it's very related. So me and Klay is still a good friend of mine. So we have the same agent. So that's one thing about the draft they don't tell you about is if you have the same agent as somebody else that is going to be a top person, it's kind of like it meshes. It's a problem because if you have 2 top guys and then your agent he can't talk for both of you at the same time. If you know what I mean, because you have 2 top talent, they might see plus and minuses, and both the scouts, the GMs, the coaches might see plus and minuses, and to the players that they might draft, and it become a problem. And I don't think it was a big problem. So I think Golden State had to pick between defense and offense. And, they chose offense. They chose my boy Klay, which they made history off that.
It seems like if you know Klay, maybe for our next interview, you're gonna call him and say, "I know 2 Greek guys," and you're gonna send it to us for an interview.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
Yeah, definitely. I think he likes to hold things back into the summertime. He probably could. He travels a lot. He likes culture and stuff like that. But yeah, it's definitely something we could try to work on.
Oh, nice.
Okay,
Nice.
we will keep all these contracts off the record. So
Okay.
Let me ask you now. After 3 years in Washington Wizards, you moved to China, and then back to Oklahoma City Blue in G League, and
Yep.
then eventually you end up in Russia, play for Locomotiv Kuban. What was the key factor for you to make this decision to play overseas, leave US and come to Europe?
Oh, so the 2011, 2014, everything was up and down for me with the Wizards. I think at the time, it's a chaotic franchise. They were coming off the whole Gilbert Arenas thing, and they're trying to burn it down and try to build it back up. But the culture, it wasn't it. It wasn't what you're supposed to when you're thinking about, I'm in the top sport, top level of your sport, and you're thinking like, this is straight business, blah blah blah. Like I got to be on my P's and Q's and stuff like that. It wasn't like that. It was laid back. It was there was structure, but no one's controlling the structure. It was just like free for all. Yeah, like you can do whatever you want, and I think players go into situations like that, and they're looking for guidance and they never get it, and that kind of that hurts them, because I think when you become a pro, you need someone to tell you how to be a pro, because it's a lot different than you thinking and doing things on your own and stuff like that. So I didn't have a lot of guidance. So I tried to do what I can. I stuck with Jan Vesely. Me and Jan Vesely became great friends during this time. I also had great friends like that, but we us and some of the other players were, you're going through the similar situations between 2011, 2014. And I think that's why Young Vasilije is overseas. I think that the 3 years at the Wizards, just like, it messed your mentality. So I would say, like, for the overseas guys that are going over, like, it's critical that, like, they have someone that's going to talk to them and, help them on and off the court. And, Jan came over by himself. He just had him and his girlfriend would come here and there. His family would come in there, but they're mostly overseas. So he's stuck, he's stuck in Washington. So I think we lived in the same building. So we got kind of close and we spent like every other day or every day together. So the reason why I think I decided to come basically overseas was in 2011, I decided I didn't want to be with the Wizards. I had an offer to be 2014. I had an offer to be with the Wizards. I didn't want to be there because all the past 3 years, I was like, I need to go somewhere else, like to clear my mind. Like I need to go somewhere else. And so I went to training camp with the Indiana Pacers. This is the year Paul George was hurt. So Paul George had that crazy injury in Vegas, whatever. So he's out, whatever. And so they're telling people that he is going to be out for this whole year. So I think I went there thinking I had a great opportunity of making the team. And then within that whole time that the training camp, I think he gave them a final decision that he was going to try to come back at that time. So they had to leave an open roster spot for him. And so I think that ended up me not making the team, whatever. And then that kind of like, they didn't tell anybody. So when they put you in a meeting telling you're going to make it or leave it, it's like, blah, blah, blah. So I'm assuming they had just told my agent before then. And like I walk in blind, so I didn't know what to expect. They told me, Indiana Pacers told me that they're not going to team and that they helped me or with my agent, they have a spot for me in China. And I was like, you walk into something that you're not like you're not expecting. So I knew of overseas, but like you're thinking of NBA, like when you make it to whatever where you want to be. You're thinking this is a spot, and then they tell you a different alternative. You're like, look at them, like, am I the right person you're talking to? So again, I felt like that was eye-opening to me. And so I said, F it, and decided to go to China. And it was, and I had talked to the team. They told me, I want to play. I want to play. I was tired. I sat a lot of games, and I was hurt, stuff like that. And I just felt like I needed to play. So I went to China, and that was just, at the time, it was like the quick step. Finish the season, get back to the NBA. So that's what I'm still thinking about NBA. I'm not thinking about overseas. It's like the season's 4 or 5 months in China. Let's do this, and let's get back to the NBA. Towards the end of the season, I had one of the players fell into me, and like my knee twisted. So I had an MCL grade 2 sprain. So I had to sit out 6 weeks. So that 6 weeks was the end of the season. So they told me like we weren't gonna make the playoffs. So they told me just go home and figure it out. So then I talked to Sam Presti, and Sam Presti told me, OKC. He told me to come there and rehab and see the culture and stuff like that. See how things are different at OKC. So that's how I ended up on OKC Blue. And then after that, I played Summer League with Orlando. I thought I did real well. Teams are calling me. I was talking to the Clippers for a while, Atlanta for a while, Orlando for a while. But they decided to go other places. And that's when I decided to go to Loco. Yeah, go to Loco. And then I found Europe.
I haven't prepared this question, but I hear you like the approach of the business, like teams, how they look at player. Also, it's everything business.
Yeah.
Do you see something different in Europe when you arrived? Like, because we have this, we as fans and as Europeans, we have this feeling that we are more family teams or something like that, especially in Greece.
Yeah. I would say that the fans are more welcoming compared to the NBA. Like, when someone gets drafted, you do your little research. If you're a fan of that team, you do your research, see who it is, blah, blah, blah. But you don't like embrace it like you do in Europe. Like, because it's like, I feel like it's more here. It's like it's more in your heart, in your soul, like how I grew up. Like I grew up with this team. Like I know the history. Like you do that in Atlanta, but it's like, it's more, I mean, you do that in the States, but it's more like business. We know it's different between pro and stuff like it's. Europe is way different than the NBA in the terms how the approach and how the fans intake and how they show their love and stuff like that.
I think my friend Panos has a question for you. It's
Okay.
regarding some rumors that were back then when you arrived in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I want to ask you. After playing in the G League and before going in Locomotiv, was there any approach from Zeljko Obradovic to sign you on Fenerbahce?
No, I didn't get the Fenerbahce until after Pau. That's, I think, to my knowledge, unless some someone didn't bring me off or something like that. But to my knowledge, Fenerbahce and Abramovich was after they beat us in Pau. Jan, was hitting me up, telling me to come to Fenerbahce, and it was almost went there then, but I was they had just won the EuroLeague, and I want to go somewhere where I can make put my mark on things, so to say, like be in the news, be one of the people they're talking about, help the team, stuff like that. Find that glory again, and that's why I went to Barca after Pau, and Pau never
Yeah.
offered like all of us collectively to stay. So that was a big thing too. So I had to, you had to make moves. I was a hot name, and that's why I chose Barca.
You didn't get an offer from Pau back then?
No, I didn't get an offer from Pau. I think because of the budget. I think the budget was too high, and then everybody became a free agent at the same time. So like you had to pick, and
Yeah.
then DPG had to pick which way he wanted to go. And if you look back now, that was a good decision on his part, because it kind of dulled the expectations of everybody. And then this past year, when he revamped and brought back, and he had the whole campaign and the marketing and stuff like that. Like he took 2 or 3 years off and he prepared for it. So that was good.
If you had an offer from Panathinaikos, would you have stayed on Panathinaikos?
There would have been discussions, especially if it was comparable to the other offers. I mean, I had no reason to leave, for me.
So you were happy in Greece?
Yeah. Why would you be happy in Greece? I mean, you love the fans. You want to. I wanted to win. I felt like I had a good point guard that was going to help me, put me in spots. We had a good chemistry and stuff like that on and off the court. And I just felt like we were going to get a chance to stay together, because I think losing to Real was eye-opening, because we felt like we should have won it behind the scenes. We felt like we should have won it, but some stuff didn't go as we wanted it, whatever. But if you look back then, the teams that are making a Final Four were the teams that were together 3-4 years. Cheska was always there. Real was already there. Then you had Fener was the first or second year. They started going back to the Final Four. It's another team I'm missing that was always there. Real, Cheska, Olympiacos.
Yeah,
Olympiacos was going back. So those 3 teams, they basically had guaranteed spots for that time period. For that, they were the 3 teams that were going to go, and then that 4th team member was random. Whoever that 4th team was, it's going to be random for that little 3 to 7 year span. It was like those 3 teams always there. And up until Barcelona, every team that I played in EuroLeague, we lost in the playoffs. They won the championship. So that was what I was going. That's what I was thinking about. Fenerbahce beat me my first year. I mean, Cheska beat first year in the Final Four. They win the championship. The next year, Fener beats us. They win the championship. The year after that, or Real wins. Real beats us. They win the championship, and Luka becomes Luka.
Yeah.
And
Like
that's when you see, and that's where you see the change of basketball. The year of Luka. That's when they said shoot all threes. That's when we're going to speed the game up. Before then, I think possessions in the NBA were like they were like 30 possessions lower than when that Luka generation came in, and it was guard heavy, and they just let everybody loose.
But before we go more deep in Panathinaikos, you had a great year in Loco, and you reached a Final Four with a great group of teammates. What was this experience for you in Loco? How did you experience that?
So it felt like home because I'm from a small town, and then it's quiet. It's quiet, and you just think about basketball. I think that at that time, just coming back from the first 4 years I had professional, I think that's what I needed. Then we're flying all the time because Loco's by itself. So wherever we're on the road all the time, and I had no choice but to think about basketball because this is my first year, and I'm still thinking about going to the NBA and stuff like that. That still hasn't left my mind by then. So then that team was built well. We had a lot of people sign late. Victor Claver signed late. I signed. I was probably the latest signer. You had
Delaney?
Anthony Randolph. Delaney was already there. Anthony Randolph was there, but he was hurt. They didn't know whether he was going to play the year, so there was a lot of stuff going on there. That's why I was brought in. I was brought in with Victor, coming because both of us coming from the NBA, was to fill that gap because Anthony was a question mark at the time. But yeah, well, we came on that team, and then I had hit people up asking about how was Draper, how was Delaney, how was Anthony before. This is my first year in Europe, and it was either going at the time it was Loco or go back to China, and so I picked Loco. They had 7 at the time foreigners, so I felt like I could fit in, stuff like that. So that's why I chose Loco, and we became family. We all basically lived in the same neighborhood, and we all wanted to win. Delaney was trying to prove a point. He's one of the best guards in Europe. Draper is his vet. They grew up with each other, or Delaney grew up behind Draper in the area, so they kind of knew each other. And we all wanted to win. We felt like everybody had a chip on their shoulder. And it was just, it's a perfect storm happened.
Okay, so after this year, you had a great season. You reached the Final Four, of course, and then you leave. You choose to go to Panathinaikos. Okay, Here it comes. First of all, did you know something about Panathinaikos before accepting the offer from the club? What made you choose Panathinaikos over the other offers?
I think I had 3. There's 3 meaningful offers that came during this time period. It was Pau, Milan, and Maccabi. Maccabi backed out because I asked him a question, and I think they didn't feel comfortable with the question.
What was the question?
I had got to know. We're in Russia. I got to know Tyrese Rice. They won, and then they didn't bring him back. So for me, and whatever team I want to go to, I want to I've jumped around these past couple of years, so I want to stay somewhere. I want to chill. I want to put up base. And so I asked Maccabi because Tyrese just became Final Four MVP, but you didn't sign him. So I asked him, why did you let Tyrese go? And then he went to Zenit. No, he didn't go to Zenit. He went to Kimki. They gave Kimki gave him that huge offer. So I just want to know why didn't they sign Maccabi, and I think they felt some type of way and they stopped talking to me. So I think because I really want to know, because I want to know what's the history of Europe. Like, this guy just won the biggest achievement, got you a championship, blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden he's on a different team. Like, what is that about? Anyway, so they dropped out. So it was between Milan and Pau. Just going back and forth. Pau, I had knew a little bit from Dominique Wilkins. My godfather grew up with Dominique Wilkins, and so I had got to see a little bit of that, but it was and get to talk to him about it. It was just short how he liked Pau and stuff like that. He said he liked it. It's big city, but big city, but it's a family and stuff like that. So that's basically what he said. And then I got advice. They said if you want to go to Pals, there's more pressure to win a championship than Milan. So that's what you want. You want to make a name for yourself. You want to go somewhere that you're going to try to win a championship. And Pau was hungry to win a championship. So more hungry.
Okay, so hungry was.
Yeah. So then I chose Pau. I had knew Nick before, but before that, I knew Kenny Gabriel from playing with him, from playing against him in college. Everything else, Casey Rivers was
great group of guys. Great group of guys. I think that your chemistry was very good, right?
Yeah, chemistry was great. Nobody really was. Everything came natural. Nothing was really forced on that team. That was the best part, and we just felt like we were just 2 years in a row. We were just a little behind, or we shouldn't have did this point, or something like that. It was 2 of the best years of my life with that group.
Did you know about the atmosphere in Panathinaikos home arena, like before you came? And what was your feeling when you entered as an opponent or as a Panathinaikos member inside the court, and you see this craziness happening from the fans?
Before I signed with Loco, I think we played there, and I saw it, but I didn't feel it because we came there. One Brzokis told us was like, he wasn't. He told us he wasn't liked, and then he found out the story of the Olympiacos and stuff like that, and then you find out. I'm learning as I'm playing. You find out the rivalries, you find out all this stuff, and all it was new to me. I kind of did like a little research before I came, like watch when YouTube was small, whatever. You'll watch YouTube or something. Like, wasn't that many clips, so I'll look at that, look at little stuff like that, and I learned with the group and stuff like that. I had a lot of people that experienced a lot, and they just told me about it. So it was crazy, and I'm glad I picked Pau.
1 year with Barcelona then, right? And then you jumped to Efes.
Yeah. So I went to Barca because the same thing I went to Pau. I want to stay somewhere, and I want to build something. So I went to Barca. They have been down since I got into EuroLeague. They weren't up to the expectations. So that's 3 years that I've been in EuroLeague that they weren't a big name in basketball. They were just Barca so I went there, go around and start talking to everybody, and talking to Pesic helped me pick that choice and go there. I had offers from every team in the EuroLeague besides like Pau and probably Olympiacos, but every other team had offered me.
Olympiacos, no, right?
Olympiacos, I told them I would never go there. So they had called me, and I told them I couldn't do that. So I never. But it's always it's love, love with whatever. But just I could never go there after wearing the green jersey. So that's for me. Other people are different, whatever. But so I chose Barca to build something. I signed a 1 year because I felt like they had to show me that they wanted to win before I, give up my life. Money's great, but it's not everything. So that's why I only signed a 1 year there. They offered me a 2-3 year deal, and I chose one. And then I went to Efes. Barca just, like theirs different. Like the players are together, but you don't know who's really. For me, I didn't know who was the top person at Barca. You don't know. You don't know who should, for the basketball side, you don't know who's making decisions or who's not. Because, when I went there, we were winning. Because they thought we were going to be losing. To be honest, they thought we were going to lose because a lot of the people that came in, there was their first year really playing EuroLeague on our team. That's so we started winning. So that's beating everybody's expectations. And then they started talking like I told them we need a shooting guard. We need someone to, at the end of the game, that we can pass to and get a bucket. We need somebody else that can get a bucket on this team to open it up for everybody. And you talk to them, they tell you that they're going to do it. They're looking on the market. Just no one ever comes. So you just see the same thing. A lot of our games is like the same thing over and over. Like it was this glaring thing. We need someone else that can score the ball. And, we couldn't, I guess they couldn't find them. And so, I think behind the scenes, they started looking elsewhere and, they got Meritage and, they want to put all this money back into it. But you had a team right there just missing one piece. In my eyes, that would have been a lot cheaper than going to build up your team and spending double what your budget is. But things happened. I think they got Meritage, and I knew my time was on the way out, and so I had to pick. I went back on the market.
Okay, went back to the market. You speak directly with Ataman to choose Efes or with someone else?
Oh, I spoke to Ataman, definitely, and I talked to Draper. Draper was at that time, he's the OG. He's been everywhere. He's been around. So he's telling me, and and he was a winner. So he just telling me all the situations, blah blah blah, the city, how things are set up here, blah blah blah. So I leaned on him. I leaned on, Gis is a good friend of mine. So just talking and just getting ready, and then talking to Ataman and what he wanted to build, and then just facing Efes before. The year before, I felt like I could be a piece that could help that team win and win a championship. Because if they had won the championship against Fenerbahce, I wouldn't have went there. I tell you now, I wouldn't have went to Efes, and I would have picked somewhere else.
You have something particular, like you were coached from Barzokas and from Ergin Ataman, which is the two coaches right now with a great rivalry between Panathinaikos and Olympiacos. You have played this rivalry and you know it.
Yeah.
Could you tell us the main differences between these two coaches?
I mean, I felt good with the coaches, because if you just watch TV, you see the animation, how they are, on the sidelines and stuff like that. You're like, maybe I don't want to play for them. But if you actually cut that out and actually talk to them, they're great people. And I had one-on-ones with Brazokas, I had one-on-ones with Ottoman and stuff like that. So it was good to find people that really want to win. And they didn't. I think they don't care who they do care, but I think that's not their top priority to hurt anybody's feelings. But like they're trying to win the game, and you can see that. I love the passion about both of them. And one thing that the same about them, I think they're two of the best recruiters out there, and they know how to put teams together. It doesn't matter where they go; all the time they put like good teams together. With the top 8 are going to be. It was great playing for both of those. Borzokis was the beginning of everything, and he basically told me how EuroLeague could go and the market players and stuff like that. Because like I told you, I was learning on the go. So having the one-on-ones with Zokis, he's the first one that told me how to make money overseas, stuff like that. How to keep my how to be me, and move around in Europe. And then Αταμάν just basically just said, let's win. That's all he wanted to do was win the EuroLeague, and that's one thing we squared away from day one. Is like we came here together to make this partnership to bring a championship to Turkey and bring one to Efes, and so that's what we did. We got two of them, and he just added another one for his personal collection.
Chris, everybody wanted to ask you one particular question. If you had to put them on the right order on a line, I don't know how to say it. Which one did you prefer?
If you go back with no parameters or anything, I think you go back to, I think I play more with Barzokas. I felt like I was on the court more. I felt more involved, I guess, with Barzokas than I was with, Efes. I mean, but that's the only thing that I could possibly say. But if you were to tell me to choose today, I'd choose Αταμάν because I have championships with him. You know what I mean? But if you're going by me playing, I feel like I played more and I got to show more with Barzokas.
Yes, you're saying playing, and you played in both positions, like 5 and 4. Like, which position did you prefer most? And did you enjoy playing in the paint or shooting more?
This is a question throughout my whole life, because I grew up a point guard, and then I grew like in 2 summers. I grew probably 9 inches, 10 inches, something like that, in like within 12 months. So that's what separated me from being a guard and me being a big man. Because I learned being a big man. I learned that in high school. Like, I learned that at 17, 18. I didn't learn that when I was young. I was taught to be a guard. So then, growing up, so I get to Florida State. They're teaching me how to be a big man. So I'm playing the 4 most of the time. And then I get to the league. They tell me they want me to be a 3. Just be a 2-3 and blah, blah, blah. And the 4, you switch. So then I get to Europe, and it's like, you're nothing but a 4-5. And so, so to answer that question, it's like, for me, I just want to play. Like, I don't care where you put me. Just put me on the court, and I'll figure out how to make a mark, how to, make this position feel like you made a good decision on playing. I feel like I can play with anybody, any style and stuff like that. Because I always felt like my motor was higher than everybody's, and I wanted it more. And then I was just blessed to play. Like I said, I started with a guard and I learned big, so I could play either position. And I think I'm open to either or.
Chris, in Greece, there is a discussion about Erkin Ataman's playbook, that it's kind of too simple. Just a screen or a pick and roll, and then the guard will choose where to pass the ball. You've been playing for him. What's your idea about this?
I mean, if you go back to look at any of his teams, the 2 of the top 3 guys he picked are going to be the 1 and the 2. They're always been ball dominant, from Gala to Beşiktaş. He's always been guard heavy. And like I said, he's good at putting teams together. So he knows that the guards are going to be ball dominant or whatever. And he wants them to play. He wants them because Europe is more guards. Whatever basketball is more guard heavy now. So you got to let the guards play. And I think he chose to always put a shooter or someone that can drive at the 4 position. Every time. And then 5 is usually athletic. He wants someone that can, set picks, roll, and jump, and give, good lob and stuff like that. But he won you a championship, so I don't know how else to change it. That's the way of the game nowadays. If you go watch anybody, it's always going to end up a pick and roll. You got the first 10 seconds. First 10 seconds, you play defense, nothing's there, and you're set offense. After that, it's pick and roll. So I think he just took I guess you can quote unquote say the NBA talent, NBA thing, and just simplify it. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way. We go with the guard screen and let the guard read. But if the guard, obviously, if you're not making the right decisions as a guard because he is usually one of your top 2 or 3 players, he's going to tell you about it. And that's why you always see so many headlines with it or with a guard rather than someone else because he knows what he wants. And if you know the history of him, then you should understand that like he wants you, he's giving you freedom. He's giving you absolute freedom for the guards. Now it's up to you to live up to that freedom and, do what you have to do and make sure we're winning on the back end. But I mean, it could be too simple or, but basketball is all about reads.
Chris, have you watched any game of Panathinaikos this year or last year?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you see yourself in Ataman's lineups in Panathinaikos on Juancho and Gomez?
Yeah, I mean, I can sort of see that, but I had they have, I guess you could say they have more talent. They're deeper on the bench than what I feel like we were, or they're a stronger bench. We felt like we were a deep team, but I feel like, they possibly have more talented overall than, what we have. If you go by simply NBA talent and stuff like that, who's played NBA and stuff like that, they have a lot of guys. I just feel, I could easily play there because like I told you before, I feel like I'm a chameleon. I can play any system. So I think that would have been a problem. You just have to sit back, look at the game, and decipher from that. But me and we have 2 different games though. He's more inside. I'm more outside. I could be more of a 3-4-5. I think he's more of a 4-5. So to say.
Clearly,
that's how I feel. Yeah, that's how I feel. And plus, it takes a little getting back from the NBA style versus what you see in Europe. So even though he's coming from the NBA, he's getting paid good money. It takes time, and plus he's got hungry players around him. You got four guards, 5 guards that are like. So it takes time to get used to.
Chris, last question before we move to the last part of some quick questions that we have prepared for you.
Mm-hmm.
Back in Efes, you played with a guard that is called Vasilije Micic, okay? There are some rumors and others that Micic is coming back in Europe from NBA. I don't know if you read about this or you spoke with someone, maybe.
No, I could text Vasa right now, but this is his decision. I understand it because at night the kids go to sleep and I just turn on, I watch sports. I'm a big sports fanatic, whatever. So I see him and I see the guards that they have in Charlotte, and I know he wants to play. This dude sat next to me in the locker room, and I heard him for 4 years. So I know he wants to play, and that's where it is. Charlotte, he's not getting that much playing time because LaMelo Ball is playing at a high level, and you have an emerging player, Trey Mann, behind him, and there's just different brand of basketball.
Okay, my question is not if he will come on Panathinaikos or not, but knowing his mentality, you think that it's his time to come back in Europe? You think that he would take this decision?
Yeah, I think he's probably going to have to wait to after February unless he gets a buyout in the next month or something. So after trade deadline and figure out how Charlotte's going to do, because he's still a talented guard in the league. And like I said, he just needs a place to play. And if someone was to trade for him, because you never know how the NBA goes, maybe it's different. But he definitely, I know what he's going through. I feel it. So I think I think the offers are there. Whatever you're saying, I think where there's smoke, there's fire. It's just does he want to see where it goes, or he just wants to come in and play 30 minutes right now?
So let's pass to the last part. The last part is some questions that the first thing that it comes to your mind. It's more or less like a Q&A with fans. As fast as you can, because we want to grab your first thoughts. So build the best five starting from today's EuroLeague.
Today's EuroLeague.
The past 2 years, let's say, not today. Like
Say Mike, Pal's 5, Lasort. Then we go across the pond. We'll get the 4-man from Olympiacos. My bad.
Vezenkov.
Yeah, my mind is blank right now. I don't
It's
know.
okay.
I can't think of anybody's names. We could say Kendrick. So we got Mike, Kendrick. I need a big guard. Who will be your 3 that can play everywhere? You can go Nigel Hayes.
You played alongside some great guards, okay? James, Micic, Larkin, Delaney.
Yeah.
You have the ball, but you have to pass it for one last shot. Who will take it?
One last shot.
Your life depends on that.
I'll take Mike. That's tough with him and Delaney. But I'll take Mike because Mike searches for shots like that. Delaney's more like the game comes to him, but he can take over, if that makes sense. Mike's like, I'm getting the ball. So I think you want somebody that's willing to embrace it full on from what you get. And that's what you get with Mike.
Which atmosphere is tougher, Greek or Turkish derby?
Greek. For me, it was Greek.
What teams do you follow in EuroLeague and NBA? This year, last year?
Well, I'm studying to be an agent, so I guess all teams in NBA, and then I guess it would be overseas. But no, I just want to see how – I like to see how things play out. Like I want to see how Barca plays out. I want to see both span the Real, Barca, Maccabi, and I want to see. There's a lot that the teams at the bottom. I want to see who's going to be like the eye-opening team towards the end of the season that I'll be scared of. But I say Real because there's so much. I don't think they lived up to what they think. I think they're going to have to start over. I know those players have been there a long time, but it's time to let's start over. For me, this is just me talking as a whatever. Maccabi, I'm interested to see how this all plays out with the players, especially the foreign players, and how much they're willing, the team, because they love success. The fans love success. Can you get success with the way their schedule and system is set up? Like, you really can't, because everybody's together in all these other teams, and then you got players here, players there. The travel is ridiculous. Those are my 3 teams. And
2 more fast questions. Final 4 predictions.
Pal, Olympiacos, Zalgiris. That 4th one is crazy. I'll say Real.
Okay.
I don't.
Crazy prediction.
For some reason, I didn't want to, but I think it's Real just because of everybody's been there. Like I said, consistency is key, and they have everybody's won over there, so it's just like you got to.
Okay, last question. Let's say that this is the final 4. Okay, let's say you can make the semifinals or the finals as you want. Who will be in the final and who will win?
Since Pau won last year, I think Olympiacos is due. I think Olympiacos is due this year. I don't, Pau has a good chance of going back to back, but it'll be 4 straight years in there and you can't win one. That'd be tough. I don't know if the fans can live with that 4 straight years there and don't win one.
So the final will be Panathinaikos, Olympiacos, and Olympiacos will win.
Oh, the final. I think Olympiacos will play.
I want to see this final, Panathinaikos against Olympiacos. Like in Belgium.
Yeah, I thought it was going to happen last year. That's what I thought, and I chose Pau. But yeah, I can't pick a final. Since my final four is Algiers and Real, I'll pick Real.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate that you were here. Thanks.
Thank you very, very much, Chris. We hope you enjoyed your time here. After all these difficulties, we made it.
Yeah, but we finally did it. And again, if you ever need me, I can slide on. I'll help you out.
Και αφού είδατε την συνέντευξη, θέλω να γράψετε στα σχόλια κάτω τι σας άρεσε, τι δεν σας άρεσε. Είναι λίγο κουνάει, δεν πειράζει.
This is it που έλεγε και ο τέτοιος. Λοιπόν, αυτό ήτανε. Like, subscribe.
Κάντε τα όλα. Και ελπίζω να την απολαύσατε. Έχει δώσει καλό ζουμί ο Κρις. Έχει πει ωραία πράγματα. Λίγο με την κάμερα προσπαθούσε να το βρει. Εντάξει, είναι μέσω μετακόμισης. Είπαμε όμως να το ξανακάνουμε πιο ήρεμα και πιο σωστά προς το τέλος της σεζόν. Ώστε να δούμε πού πέσαμε μέσα.
Και να έχω ίντερνετ και εγώ.
Ναι, κάποιες φορές κόλλησε και ο Πάνος. Δεν πειράζει, σημασία έχει ότι βγήκε κάτι ωραίο. Ελπίζω να το απολαύσατε και περιμένουμε την επόμενη συνέντευξη.
Ευχαριστούμε πολύ.
Και τα λέμε την επόμενη φορά.